Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. If you tuned into our last review where we did ServiceNow, it was a couple of weeks back. For those of you joining first time today, a quick introduction. So I'm Daniel Gilby, an account manager here at Xcession. A little bit of background about me. Worked in IT for over 20 years now. Various roles, varying guises, infrastructure, networks, service delivery, and solution consultancy. That's me in a nutshell. Just very quickly about Xcession. We're a implementation, professional services and consultancy organization, specifically around the ITSM and ESM space. Sunil, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, and by equally a little bit of an introduction to yourself would be great before we get into the review itself.
Yeah, thank you, Dan, and thanks everyone for joining again. It's great to have you back if you are rejoining. So I'm Sunil Dougal, I'm the CRO of Xcession. My background has been in the IT service management world for well over a decade now, and I have to own up to having worked with BMC and with BMC Remedy on Demand and Helix for quite a number of years. So I've been really looking forward to this session. Nothing really to add from an Xcession perspective, Dan. I think you've nailed it.
Great, thanks. And just before we throw up some slides for everybody, just to quickly cover off, we're going to be giving a high-level overview of the solution set, talking about some of the features, functions, and capabilities, giving our opinions on those, and then kind of wrapping up with a view on what kind of organizations we feel, from our standpoint, BMC Helix in this instance, is best suited to, which we'll get into in momentarily. But without further ado, let me pop some slides on screen. And we've already covered that we're talking about BMC Helix today, so I'll skip on. We've talked a little bit about this. The slides are going to be available. Should you like a copy post this session, leave a comment, let us know, get in touch with Sunil or myself. Happy to share these. And Sunil, yeah, perhaps you could just sort of walk us through the review criteria. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. Sorry, Sunil, just before you do that, any comments, feedback, observations, thoughts, remarks, or anything else, pop a comment in. We won't be able to reply to them immediately on the call session now. However, we will respond post. Okay? Thank you.
Super. Thank you, Dan. So I think before I talk about these bullet points that we've got here, you won't see a demo today. This is not about demonstrating the product. This is really about trying to make sure that anybody who is either looking for a new service management tool set, who has decided that they want to buy BMC Helix, or indeed already has made an investment into BMC Helix, that what we're trying to do here is give you a good idea of the kind of key things you need to be aware of that may well influence your decision or may well help you prepare for success using the tool set. So as I say, no demo, not even any screenshots. There will be other points that we don't cover today, but we wanted to try and keep this reasonably concise in the half hour. And what we wanted to do was, try and get the sort of key criteria from our opinions, right, our thoughts into this. So we're going to cover 6 areas. This will be the same format for all of our review series. If you saw the ServiceNow one, it's the same. We're going to look at what it's like as a tool set to work with. So both as an end user or as an agent, we're going to talk about what it's like to administer. So the kind of things that you will need to be aware of from a skills perspective, that kind of thing. We'll look at how it fulfills as a tool set some of the more advanced ITIL use cases. Don't we, Dan, see a lot of work from customers in and around CMDB across all the tool sets. So that's particularly a key focus. We'll look at the extensibility outside of IT, right, into the broader business. So, how well does the tool set fulfill that ESM requirement? We'll talk a bit about the platform, and we'll talk a bit about what it's like from a cost of ownership perspective as well. So as I say, some key points from our perspective. Anything that we don't cover, as Dan said earlier, drop it in the comments, get in contact with us. We'd be happy to, there we go, we'd be happy to talk it through with you. So perhaps, if it's all right, shall I just move on, Dan?
Yeah, please. Let's run through this, and yeah, as per the flash up just there, any thoughts or queries, observations, let us know, and we'll come back to you. But yeah, let's run through it. So, no, brilliant stuff.
So as I'm sure most of our audience will know, there was a time where BMC were the preeminent market leader in the ITSM world with Remedy. Obviously, there's a history of Remedy, the Remedy Corp, Peregrine, I think, and then BMC. But it was really that market leader. And then I think a few things happened. BMC were a bit slow off the mark to move their product from an on-premise solution into a SaaS solution. I think ServiceNow clearly took a big leap at that point in time and won a lot of customers. And I think BMC has and still to a degree, has a number of different tool sets that perhaps don't always necessarily gel together quite so clearly. BMC obviously has Helix ITSM and its ITOM offering, but it also has a Control M, so a workload automation toolset there. It also has a big play in the mainframe space. So I think perhaps the management of disparate tools took a bit of a toll. Having said that, Helix now has undergone a lot of reinvention. It is a highly competent toolbox. It has a great and well-integrated ITSM and ITOM offering, both SaaS and on-premise. So for certain types of industry, for example, defense, then the on-premise offering is still something that's highly valued there. It has a solution. It's still a Gartner Magic Quadrant leader, okay? And it has some interesting competitive strengths in and around pricing and the way in which licensing is offered. So BMC, somewhat unusually, has a concurrent licensing model that for certain organizations can be really, really valuable. Perhaps in comparison to some other tool sets, and you could say maybe ServiceNow, the C-suite message perhaps for BMC is a little bit confused. It's not quite as clear what their strapline, the autonomous digital enterprise, really means to that C-suite leader insofar as BMC is concerned. I think we all have a view on what an autonomous digital enterprise might look like, right? But actually, how does BMC fulfill that? Maybe is a little bit confused, but it's still a great choice in the marketplace, and let's have a look and see why. So if we start with what it's like to work with, so there is, if you look at the agent workspace, there is a lot of configuration there, but it does lack a degree of flexibility. So it's fine for IT because it's built for IT, but it's not necessarily as easily configurable to other business functions that might be interested in using the tool set in a sort of ESM way. On the end user side, so the end user portal and their mobile app offer more configuration options than the agent side of things. So actually, from an end user perspective, you can do more with it there. But I think what you have to consider really is if somebody is working in, for example, facilities, are there elements of their interface that they are going to see that really lend themselves both in terminology, the kind of fields that exist to IT. But maybe we're splitting hairs a little bit here. Still pretty good. There are some skills required. Okay, But I guess by virtue of the fact that it's perhaps not as configurable as other solutions, then maybe the skills issue is not so significant. In this instance, we'll talk a bit more about skills around implementation and administration soon. In terms of channels of communication out through to their end user consumer base, they're all there for you, right? So it allows the business to define, what's best today, what's best tomorrow, and manage their community engagements however they see fit. So it's pretty good, right? It's up there, but maybe there's a few bits and pieces that that perhaps don't suit the broader business.
Would it be an observation then, Sunil, that the lack of flexibility in being able to configure, the agent workspace, for instance, would it be fair to say then, because what they've provided within BMC Helix through all of the years and experience of doing this and ongoing development, actually they feel they've got that fine-tuned to the point where, this is what people want, this works really well, or not, I guess. Just a question.
Yeah. I sort of feel a little bit like that might be best suited to the folks that work at BMC. I can give you my view on it, Dan, which is that it's great for IT, and IT has been the traditional stronghold for BMC. And whereas if you compare perhaps for me, for example, that we'll talk about in a couple of weeks, or if you look at say ServiceNow, right, they have taken a bit more of an enterprise view.
Sure. Okay.
But if anybody's from BMC that's on this and has a view here, then please share it, because this is our opinion, but we'd love to hear yours as well. So let's look at implementation timeframes. So I think what's crucial here is that BMC, like ServiceNow, BMC is a toolbox. It's a toolbox approach, and as a result, there can be some complexity around configuration, and that complexity means two key things. One is that implementation timeframes can be reasonably substantial. You can run BMC Helix out of the box on day one, but it won't offer you very much. Really, what you need to do is make sure that you have the right kind of foundation data, etc., into the system, and you need to make sure that you have done the sort of configuration to allow your business to maximize on the tool set. So something to think about there, both skills and timeframes. And as a result of that, obviously, that does push up the implementation costs. And I guess that reflects a little bit on an ongoing administration perspective as well. So if your investment is in BMC, then you need to invest in people who are going to administer that solution as well. BMC Education has a really broad range of training courses, a really good education program, so they are available. Certainly in my time working very closely with BMC, there was not exactly a mandate, but a very strong level of encouragement to customers that they should identify BMC administrators who should do the certification-based training, and that's exactly the right thing to do, because that will minimize an organization's ongoing cost of operating that system. You'll have less reliance on third parties to do that. So that's a really positive thing. One of the sort of challenges, I guess, is that with the advent of some of the other players, a lot of the experienced BMC consultants, administrators in the marketplace have reskilled themselves in other areas. And so hiring can be a little bit of a challenge. But, somebody who has service management and ITIL competency and is technical, will be able to go and do those training courses and develop the skills that they need themselves. There are a couple of points here that I would pull out, actually, that are worth thinking about. So reporting was a collaboration with Yellowfin. It's now moving to Helix Dashboards, which is based on Grafana. we have had some customers who have identified that they think reporting is perhaps a little bit basic. Again, BMC, as you might want to comment here. And integration, so there is an integration technology or an integration offering, I should say, called iPaaS. It's based on Jitterbit. Jitterbit is fantastic. So this is a great hookup for BMC. I guess the one thing that it makes you think about, though, is what does the future roadmap look like? So in as much as Yellowfin was the reporting toolset, it's now moving away. You know, we don't know what that ongoing relationship with Jitterbit will be. But what I would say again, I'd reiterate, is that Jitterbit is excellent. Xcession is a referral partner for Jitterbit. We work with Jitterbit at a number of our customers, using BMC, and it's a solid solution. So let's just move on a little bit to this thorny topic of the CMDB.
Good old CMDB.
CMDB. So for a very long time, Atrium, so BMC's CMDB offering, was the market leader, and it remains a market-leading solution and is a core pillar for BMC technologies in the ITSM ITOM space. So, if you make an investment, you are buying something that really is very, very good, right, in the marketplace here. The competency is excellent. And the BMC Discovery solution, again, is a superb solution. A market leader. And perhaps it differs slightly from some of the other technologies out there, as it sort of leads on this concept of start anywhere discovery. You don't need to go top down. You can start anywhere in the application stack and it will go out and discover. It works, across multi-cloud, hybrid, on-premise environments. Obviously, it is, directly integrated into the CMDB. So it's really an excellent solution. That doesn't actually detract, though, from the requirements on customers who want to actually max out in this area of making sure that they make the right kind of investments, both from a discovery licensing perspective, but also in terms of the ongoing CMDB management and administration element. I talked a little bit earlier about how BMC had a broad toolset offering, perhaps slightly disparate. So here is an example of one of those tools that no longer is managed by BMC. So they used to have a patching and compliance offering that is no longer offered. And perhaps this is maybe a little bit of an area of weakness if we think about that sort of broader play. And it has an impact to a degree in the marketplace on some of the integrations that are out there. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how, everyone wants to have an integration to ServiceNow because of its dominance in the space. Yeah, not quite the same for BMC. So often you might be looking at creating some bespoke integrations. Again, just something to be aware of. Actually, it's not a problem, because if you've made that investment in iPaaS and Jitterbit, right, it's not a massive challenge. But again, just something to be aware of there. We see, by the way, our biggest customer is running BMC Helix at Xcession. They have a very broad range of integrations that have been built, and they work exceptionally well. Again, any questions? Let us know.
Yeah, so, just before you get onto the enterprise service management slide here, we kind of mentioned that the CMDB can be a thorny area, and certainly conversations we've had of late over the past 6 or 7 weeks, in fact, a lot of that has centered around CMDB and the effectiveness of it. And what we're seeing, and again, chime in with your own experiences, observations, comments, and so on, is that once you have that foundational data accurate, reporting well, and captured correctly, then you can build upon that. But that's the key thing there. So it's all very well and good, and this goes for all of the ITSM platforms and solutions out there, not just the ones that we're going to be reviewing, is that the capability is there, but you need to have the data accuracy. And the thinking is that the better the capability, the better you're going to be able to ensure that accuracy. I mean, that would be how it plays out in my mind. I don't know what you think, Sunil.
Yeah, I think what many organisations need to be encouraged to think more about is that it's not just about the data in the CMDB. It is about the processes for getting the data in there and making sure that it is accurate. And then what are the downstream processes that CMDB data supports? So, to take a really simple example, if you're doing incident management and you are able to have accurate data in the CMDB, such that when somebody in a resolver group is actually, resolving that incident, they have the right information relating to the right configuration items available to them. That's going to improve their resolution times. It's going to improve their resolution accuracy. That will then feed in, for example, to problem management, reduce the number of problems and make the whole problem management function that much more effective. So, it's when you set out to take on a CMDB program, you're setting out really with the end in mind, right? What are the downstream processes that you're trying to impact on, and how are you going to make them better? And as you say, Dan, that's the same across all the tool sets. Where there is some difference is the way in which the data models can be structured within the CMDB, but also the ability to pull data in and, go through the appropriate sort of reconciliation, deduplication rules, etc., to ensure that accuracy. But okay, moving on to the enterprise service management, and I'm conscious of the time because we've been talking a bit here, haven't we? So, BMC offers an employee portal, really potentially for all business services, but in some areas there is limited content. So HR case management is well populated, and actually lots of BMC customers are using HR. But outside of that, there are relatively few line of business focused content packs. So, the theory here is that you could build in business workflows, which is their low code, development platform. You could build case management solutions for non-IT. You could say, hey, legal, we're going to build that. But BMC doesn't offer that, or at least I'm not aware of them offering legal service management, for example, out of the box as a module. So it's sort of slightly weaker in the ESM play, and I guess anybody, and we'll come on to who this is best suited to, but I guess anybody thinking about it, again, they just need to be aware, right, that there will be some development activity that they will need to do. Maybe that's a more cost-effective solution anyway, but something that perhaps BMC could think about is adding on these content packs.
But so what you're saying there is the extensibility is there. It's just that you're going to have a bit of effort involved to get it to do
exactly.
What's
exactly.
needed, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that flows into this concept of what the sort of platform offering is. If you were to compare it to, I don't know, let's take Freshworks, right? Freshworks have a customer service management solution. They have a sales solution. They have an IT solution. They have some ITOM capability within that IT solution. They have Fresh Team, which is a sort of recruiting and hiring solution. If as an organization you make an investment into all of those solutions, you start to aggregate a lot of data into a single platform. Freshworks, again, as a great example, has a very active ecosystem, lots of applications that have been developed on their Neo platform. We'll talk about that soon. But BMC haven't really developed that in quite the same way. So beyond that super effective core of ITSM and ITOM and to some degree HR, it loses some of its offerings. And as I sort of mentioned a little bit earlier on, it does have products in workload automation. It has mainframe products, but they don't sit on the Helix platform. And so, if you're sitting in that C-suite, what you're looking at here is more point solutions rather than one all-encompassing solution. The flip side is ServiceNow, Freshworks, they don't offer a workload automation solution at all, right? They don't have any mainframe solutions either. So, all of these technologies exist in the enterprise and even the big mid-market. So actually, maybe another way of looking at it is here that BMC are touching different areas of the business. I don't know, take your view on it. If you're a C-level person on this presentation, once again,
and in case anybody kind of missed the link up there, we are going to be doing a review of Freshworks. That's coming in a few weeks. So keep an eye out for an invite.
Super.
Just to give a shameless plug.
Yeah. So looking at the total cost of ownership piece, I mean, subscription costs are towards the upper end of the market, but they're not the most expensive. Okay. And for certain types of customers, we talked about this already, the idea of concurrency, which sort of works on a 3-to-1 ratio, can be very attractive. So if you're running a 24/7, 365 follow the sun service, then concurrency might be a great solution for you. BMC still offer on-premise solutions, right? So you're paying not a perpetual license anymore, that has been discontinued, but you're paying an on-premise subscription. So again, a little bit more flexibility in the offering there. The implementation maintenance costs, again, reasonably high level. We talked about this a little bit earlier on, and so they're reasonably expensive, but again, it's not at the top end of the marketplace. So there is a cost benefit there for somebody looking for that advanced ITSM or ITOM solution. There are some things to think about though, right? If you're running your on-premise instance, then there might well be an upgrade requirement that's imposed on you. You need to think about that. So things to be a little bit aware of. We talked a bit about skills earlier. Let's talk a bit about the ecosystem. So there are a small number of ecosystem VARs, basically, value-added resellers out there. Depending on where you are in the world, there are more or less, okay? Some have, straight out implementation solutions, that's it. Some offer managed services on top of that. Some have invested in application development. So, using AI, for example, to look at ticket data, etc. So, but what there is not is the relationships with the big system integrators or the management consultancies in the way that if you go back 20 years, there will have been. So again, that's not to say that if you're investing in this space, you're not going to get support. Xcession is a great partner to work with, right? But your range of offerings from supporting partners might be fairly limited. So things to be aware of. So let's just roll into the sort of the last bit, really. So who do we think Helix is best suited to? So if you are an enterprise customer and you are looking for a highly capable ITSM and IT operations, ITOM solution, it's right up your street. If you're looking at really maxing out on that CMDB discovery capability, if you're looking at integrating event management into the solution using the Helix AI Ops offering, then it's excellent, right? You've got a really good solution here. But I guess if you're looking to expand it out across the broader enterprise, as we mentioned earlier, think about that. It may well be that there are some considerations from an infrastructure perspective that you also have as well. So for example, you need something on premise, that's pretty obvious, but also if you want to stay away from, I don't know, AWS because you are a retail organization. So BMC with its multi-cloud or choice of cloud offering is also something that you could talk about. And we mentioned the concurrency side of things as well. I would say that this sits in the large mid-market to enterprise and true enterprise space. I think it's unlikely that a mid-market or certainly not a small customer will be really best suited to Helix ITSM. And many organizations are not looking to max out on that ESM plane. Many organizations just want a great service management solution. And for them, Helix is excellent.
Great. Thank you, Sonal. Just to sum up then, in my mind, highly comprehensive, massive toolbox, lots of pedigree, good options in terms of deployment and competitive licensing, and they can shape that to meet the market demand requirement. Good stuff.
Good summary.
Well, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining us. We've just tipped over the 30-minute marker, and if you've made it this far, brilliant. Again, we're all about the comments, feedback. We're not Ant and Dec by any stretch here, but any observations on the presentation style, we'll gratefully take those on board. Just in the footer there, you can see our next review is in a couple of weeks from now. We're going to be looking at 4Me. I'm quite looking forward to doing that review because that's a very different toolset approach, but we'll talk more about that at the time. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.